I grew up in a world full of color. Festivals, truck arts, wedding celebrations, color was everywhere. But somehow, over time, I started to tone myself down. Neutrals, muted palettes, classic blacks, whites, grays, and beiges. So what happened? Hello everyone, my name is Marina Khan. I am an immigrant and a cultural researcher, and on this channel I talk about South Asian culture, migration, history, art, and all the spicy topics in between. So if any of these topics are of interest to you, welcome to my little community where we explore all of these fascinating aspects of South Asian life. Some of you may know that I run a small business brand called Mulk, where I sell these super bright, maximalist, Sindhi folk art inspired jackets and vests. I'm wearing one of my pieces right now. I really love setting up my market stall, and after doing this for about a year, I've realized that without fail, a very specific phenomenon tends to unfold at the markets. People walk by, their eyes light up, they come over, touch and feel, and often say things like, "My God, these pieces are stunning." But then they'll usually follow that up with something like, "Oh, but it's too bright for me. It's too colorful for me. I don't even know how I would pull this off." The researcher in me was naturally intrigued. And this kind of got me thinking and reflecting about my own relationship with color. And it kind of started making sense. I came across a whole range of articles and commentary about how Western aesthetics have influenced our relationship with color. So in today's video, I want to unpack and reflect on this topic a little bit, and hopefully also hear from you about your experiences and relationships with color. Let's dive into it. So my research took me to this really interesting book by artist and writer David Batchelor called Chromophobia. It is described by him as the persistent, irrational fear or aversion to color, and is usually a conditioned response. Now, I'm not going to analyze or review this book, but just kind of present the general premise. In this book, Batchelor argues that in the West, since antiquity, color has been systemically marginalized, reviled, diminished, and degraded. Batchelor traces this back centuries, showing how color was treated almost like a problem, something that threatened the purity of the rational, the orderly, and the masculine. When color appeared, it was associated with excess, decadence, or dangerous sensuality, basically all the things that polite society wanted to suppress. In a short film by Henny Talks, Batchelor further explains, and I quote, that when art historians write about what's wrong with color, they often treat it as this kind of pit that you might fall if you're not careful. It's almost represented as dangerous, a kind of a seduction, a threat of one kind or another, that you have to keep your wits about, otherwise you might tumble into color. Going into color is almost represented as a fall from grace. He uses the Wizard of Oz as an example of a visual representation of this, where Dorothy and her dog Toto fall from a grey world into Munchkin Land, a hyperchromatic, colorful world, which of course at the end of the movie turns out to be representative of unconsciousness or irrationality. If you'd like to watch the full feature on how Batchelor describes chromophobia, I've linked it in the description of this video. There are several other examples of such visual representations of color. One that really comes to mind for me is the movie Legally Blonde, where the protagonist, Elle Woods, enters Harvard and is immediately discredited because of her pink and colorful attire, in comparison to her classmates and colleagues who are dressed in grays and blacks and browns. This representation of Elle Woods' colorful wardrobe and personality refers to this idea of color being something that is feminine and something that cannot really be taken seriously. These examples show how color anxiety is deeply embedded in the aesthetic hierarchy that even lurks today, in minimalist Scandi interiors, and in the endless beige and greige outfits pushed by quiet luxury aesthetics, brands and influencers. It seems like neutrals and muted palettes are almost seen like the hallmark of style and professionalism and efficiency and even morality. Now let's bring it back a little bit to South Asia. In South Asia, color isn't just decorative. It carries memory and meaning and is embedded in the rich cultural traditions of our vibrant art and heritage, some of which are slowly being forgotten. The dominance of neutral tone designs and aesthetics are increasingly visible in South Asian media and visual culture as well. I don't know if it's just me, but has anyone else noticed the increasing use of pastels and neutral tones in South Asian celebrity wedding pictures? Look, to be honest, I think pastels are really pretty. But I guess I'm also wondering whether we're losing some of that unapologetic maximalist South Asian energy that made South Asian weddings so South Asian. This dominance of neutral aesthetics can also marginalize traditional art forms and impact local artisans and communities that uphold these traditions. South Asian textile traditions are traditionally rooted in bold, striking color combinations, often carrying a deep cultural, spiritual, and historical significance. And there are some great examples of that, including things like achrak and our local embroideries, and pulkari and bandhani. And I guess I'm wondering, are we unintentionally stripping these crafts of their vibrancy to make them more wearable and palatable? And I feel it's also a little bit about Sharam, isn't it? As I was researching on this topic, I started to wonder whether my own life's color palette in my wardrobe, home, etc., which is predominantly black or gray or white or neutral, is mostly because of the influence of our visual culture, but perhaps also a sense of internalized sharam. As immigrants, standing out is exactly what we've learned to avoid. We already embody too many markers of difference: our accents, our food, our customs, our traditions. Why add loud colors to the mix? Perhaps we tone ourselves down because we want to be taken seriously, or perhaps we don't want to feel too obvious or too different or too foreign. Once I've started noticing this shift in my own life about my relationship with color, I feel like I almost cannot unsee it. Color isn't something that I feel like I've lost. It almost feels like something I have been made to lose. Because the funny thing is, color is still there, tucked away in moments of joy. It's in our weddings, in our festivals, in our childhood memories. It's in our clothes and folk art traditions, in the spices that line our kitchen shelves, in the rickshaws and the trucks and the street markets of home. Color hasn't left us. We've just found ways to contain it. And I wonder how much of that was our own choice and how much of that has been shaped by the visual culture and the dominance of neutral aesthetics. Look, I don't have an answer to that, but after reflecting on the deep-rooted history of our relationship with color, I recognize people's hesitation with it. That moment of being drawn to something vibrant and colorful, but also feeling unsure or a sense of sharam in embracing it. And it's also making me think about all the ways in which we might have learned to shrink ourselves, not just in color, but in expression, in identity, and what we allow ourselves to enjoy. Of course, this is just my opinion, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this too. Please share any thoughts, reflections, or your personal stories about your relationship with color in the comments below. I would love to delve into this discussion more. If you'd like to see similar explorations, reflections, discussions, or rants about all the colorful aspects of South Asian culture, please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon to be notified about new videos. Also, I wanted to say a quick thank you to all of the people who've subscribed to my channel and are liking my videos. Thank you so much. Your support means a lot to me. It's all very new for me at the moment, but I'm learning as I go, and I'm just really appreciative of your support. Until next time, take care.